should you have to go to work to get paid? John Tory is here. He's going to answer that question. But first, please, if you can, subscribe and donate to keep the show on the air, because we talk about issues that other people will not. John Tory, former lawyer, businessman, and politician. He joins me now. The federal civil servants are saying we want to go to work 2 days a week or 3 days a week and stay at home the other days, and we work more effectively by being at home by ourselves in our room with a computer. Is that agreeable?
Well, I think the real test is, do you get the work done, and do you get it done as effectively as if you weren't there, if you're staying home all the time? But you see, I look at it somewhat differently and say, if you're getting your work done, there could be an argument that says you could do it from home or you could do it from your car if that's going to suit you. But I think what goes on here is in terms of the career development of your talent, that you want to be the next wave of leaders in your company or in your government. If you're not at the office, you are not picking up on the culture, you are not picking up on mentoring, you are not in the face of your boss, you are not available to take on spot assignments that come up, and I think that is very much to the detriment of the development of people who are working. And so,
if you're out of sight, you're out of mind.
Well, I believe so. Yes, I think that's true. That's very true. It's always been true, and it still is. And I think that there are employers that have said we're going to make it more fun and more enjoyable to be at work. And in a lot of those places where they've accompanied that with a requirement to be there 4 or 5 days, people are. Guess what? If people are told they have to be at the job 5 days a week in order to sort of keep the job and move up, they'll show up.
So are our governments at fault for not saying come in 5 days a week?
I think they're at fault for taking so long to get people back to work. I mean, the very fact they're having a fight now about coming back 3 days a week, and that there's a protest about that, so it may not happen, is indicative of the fact that the pandemic was over, like what, 2 years ago?
It's somewhat astonishing,
It's time, for people to get back at least a reasonable amount and to recognize their careers will be the major beneficiaries of being back at work, not the big government or the company.
But if you're middle-aged or older and you're getting a great pay, you aren't concerned about it.
It's all more young people, I think, that want to stay home because they're parents and kids can go to school and they can take them in the morning without having to rush off to work. And if a child's sick, they can work from home. So there are advantages to it, and there are advantages to being more reasonable or balanced than we used to be. But the notion you should just stay home all the time, I don't think works for the employers, but I certainly don't think it works for the employees. I think it's a big detriment to their careers.
And yet the unions in Ottawa in particular are saying, we want this. We don't want to go to work.
But it's like sort of saying, well, what's better than free? I mean, I think, of course, the unions would take that stand because I think that's what they think their members would prefer, is to have the freedom to stay home all the time, when in fact I just don't think it's right for those employers or for employees or for the government or for the business that employs them.
So when will the penny drop? We have very, very low productivity in Canada. Our economy is just saddled with this huge debt. When will governments start to look at this and say, we can't continue along this way?
We are stagnant. We are on a slow path of decline in terms of our productivity. That means a slow path in decline on our standard of living and our wealth. And I think when people start to see we can't afford the things that we used to be able to afford, then they'll realize it's a whole sum of all of these things together that are making us a poorer country. Too bad.
It's a good place to end it. John Tory, thanks very much. Good advice. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government. And as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.